There are a couple of ways to identify all of the processes in a business. One way is to look at job descriptions, which should identify what each position in the organization does. But what we found is most companies don't use job descriptions very effectively, and rarely are they ever kept current. So, as a best practice, we recommend starting with one of the 4 key functions. Begin identifying all of the processes that you have or need for that key function, and then work your way around each of the 4 key functions. I like to begin with the sales and marketing key function because that's often seen as the place where everything starts. Consider the question, what is it that happens in your business to indicate that a prospect has become a client? So write down the name of that process. It could be a purchase order, a signature on a proposal or an estimate, a signed contract. It could simply be a verbal agreement, but whatever it is, write that one step that most often occurs that indicates that a prospect has become a client. It's important to note that all of the activities that happen in your business up to this step are the systems or steps of systems in the key function called getting the business. Some examples of some sales and marketing systems. Think of how do you generate leads? I suspect that some of the ways that you generate leads is through referrals. That's what we hear most often. Maybe you do some telemarketing. Maybe you do some direct mail. Maybe some advertising on the radio or the newspaper, signage in your shop or on your trucks. So lead generation processes are all those processes that get someone to contact you or accept a contact from you. What about after you generate a lead? What are some of the examples of some of these systems that you have to nurture leads and convert them into sales? I would think that one of the first things you do would be to qualify a lead to determine whether or not you want to pursue it. So maybe you have a lead qualification system. Maybe you have a free consultation with a new prospect. Other ideas, scheduling a first appointment, creating a proposal, presenting the proposal. Think of any types of things that you do that help you convert a prospect into a new sale. Once you have a client, you want to retain them or have them buy more often or have them spend more money at your company. So these are what we call client reconversion processes. Maybe you do client satisfaction surveys, you do existing client follow-up calls, you have newsletters, or you send out birthday and anniversary cards, thank you cards, you do client specials. And the idea here is to identify all of the processes that you do. So let's go over to your TouchStone account, and we're going to log into the 4 key functions. And let's start with getting the business. And again, in your TouchStone account, you may have already renamed this to sales and marketing. One of the ways you generate new leads is probably through referrals. So you'll come up here, you'll select add new process, you'll type in referrals. And for the time being, let's just put this under the marketing subfunction. I will explain what these subfunctions are in just a moment. Maybe you do cold calling, so you'll come up in here and you'll say cold calling. Maybe you do business networking at chambers of commerce, for example. But the idea is to go through and name all of your processes. Eventually you'll end up with a list of processes in 1 or 2 categories, which then brings me to the topic of these categories. We call these categories subfunctions, and you can have as many subfunctions as you like. You can add, edit, delete, or reorder your subfunctions. Sales and marketing, for example, can probably be broken down into 5 very distinct categories or subfunctions. Target market development, which is really understanding who your clients are, how they think and behave, and where they're located. Generating leads, which is essentially advertising. Nurturing and converting leads into sales. Maintaining a relationship with existing clients, selling them new products and services. Sales and management reports. So in TouchStone, these are the subfunctions. Your key function will be called sales and marketing, or getting the business, and your subfunctions will be anything that you like, but as an example, these 5 could be your 5 categories or subfunctions. So I'm going to come into my TouchStone account, and when I look at these processes, all of these processes to me look like processes for generating leads. So I'm going to edit this subfunction and call it generating leads. But I also want to add a subfunction for defining our company's target market. And I'm going to add a subfunction called client reconversion and loyalty. So these will be all of the processes that I will use to maintain clients, upsell them, cross-sell them, etc. And I might even create a subfunction called sales management and reporting. The value in thinking now in terms of categories is you can start thinking of possibly what other processes you have missed. So for example, have you thought of all the client reconversion and loyalty processes? Have you thought of any processes for defining your target market or sales and management reports? Generally what happens is you go through your own key functions here, you're going to probably come up with 65 to 75% of the processes that happen in your business. If you like, you can come up to our systems library and you can go to the general processes library and you can look and see, is there something that maybe you have forgotten? So maybe there's a process here that you say, oh yeah, we do that. We do the sales follow-up process, and that would be part of nurturing and converting. And then you can come down and add that to your TouchStone account. So that's your next step. Go ahead and define all of the processes for your sales and marketing, then go into doing the business, running the business, and guiding the business.